Like every time you talk to someone, they're like, this is like going to change. Like this is changing my life basically. Yeah. I go from like working or doing this like all day to literally it's done in 10 seconds. Like that's kind of, I mean, that's the same level of like, that's like chat GPT stuff. That's my way of inserting chat GPT.
Oh, I see. Okay. We're AI powered now.
It's like basically chat GPT level type stuff. Well, so it's not, but it's the same kind of reaction that people are having, which is like, holy crap, like this used to take me a million years and now I can write a blog in 2 seconds or whatever.
Yeah. If chat GPT was built to address the needs of tens of businesses, then it's just the exact same.
Exactly.
One characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. It was grit.
What's up?
Yeah, there it is.
I actually I opened it a little bit first. So you get that first, like, psst, like, you know what I mean?
You missed that.
I don't know. I ruined it. I missed it.
Well, you gotta cheat because otherwise it'll take you 20 minutes to open it live. So I don't have anything to open, but I have so what do you got there in the can?
I got a White Claw because I'm trying to be healthier.
Crushing it. Well, in the same vein, I guess, I have a phony Negroni. If you can,
what is that?
I
don't like what I'm hearing already.
It's a non-alcoholic cocktail. Pretty cool. It tastes amazing.
I don't know.
Yeah, it tastes great. This is what it looks like. I poured it out, obviously.
How much sugar you got in there? None?
It's a decent. No, it's not sugar free. It's a bit sugary. It's like 10 grams or something. Not bad.
Like, well, we're not going to give you liquor, but like we're going to drug you with sugar. I have been like almost every time we go out, which is maybe like once every month or something. I do get a Negroni most times, and I used to not do that. I was more of a whiskey person, but now.
But Boulevardier is one of my go-tos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Mezcal Negroni, also good.
What?
But yeah, anyway,
Really?
I figured it's part of I guess we can, I'll segue into our personal updates, quick personal stuff. So part of the reason is because our 3-year-old, the middle child, is waking up, is like rarely sleeping the whole night without coming to our bed. So it's the little sleep that I'm getting. I'm like, I can't risk it with like even a drink or two. It's just like, I need this precious hours. So the phony Negroni will have to do.
You'd think that it would be the opposite of that, right? It's like, oh, it's so stressful. I'm so tired. I just need something to relax me.
Well, that's how it is. Like at
opposite.
this time, yeah, like at this hour, I'm like, ooh, I could take a little, like, have a little bourbon or something, but then when I'm sleeping or waking up at 2 a.m, I'm like, oh gosh, what's happening?
Yeah.
So.
No, you learn that like pretty quickly into having a kid. I think most people know that, where it's like the first, like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or whatever, you're like, oh, I'm going to like chill and have a drink, just like you always did before. And then you're woken up at like 2 a.m. You're like, oh yeah, this feels terrible. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah. Yeah. It's too delicate. So yeah, that's happening. But it's all in all, it's been fine. But it's like with 3, I feel like there's always at least one child who's doing something weird at night. So that seems to be the way it's going.
That's how it goes. Yep.
But
we just took Dallas off the passy. So we're getting that like week to 2 weeks of
the backlash.
The backlash. And so he's waking up like 2 or 3 times screaming, but mostly going back to sleep after like a few minutes. So yeah. As long as he's not waking up the other one, it's whatever. As long as I don't have to get up, I don't have to like physically get out of bed. Like that's all that really matters. I can sit there all day, and like I have a white noise app on my phone that I'm probably like the power user of this. Like it's like way down when you look up like white noises.
Wait, they have, I just had this discussion with someone. They have a built-in one, right?
Built-in. They do?
White noise. Yeah, I just had this conversation with someone this weekend. Yeah.
Where?
It's like, I forgot where it's like buried under some accessibility or something random. But if you swipe down into the settings things, you can see it in there. So yeah, I use it a lot. Yeah, because the white noise apps are like such garbage. So.
Yeah, I use I turn it all the way up. so that there's nothing I can possibly hear, and I put it right next to my ear. So
Yeah.
that's what
We
that's
have
what
one in
do
our,
now.
we just like leaned, we started doing that with the second kid. And then we got like a Lofty alarm clock, which has a built-in noise machine. So now it's on our bedside.
Nice.
For
For all you
what else?
people
Personal.
that haven't had parents or haven't had kids, you better have like 10 white. We have like 8 white noise makers and air.
Oh yeah, it's like the kids have
and
one,
air
the
purifiers
parents
that are
have one.
basically the same
Yeah.
thing. Oh my
No,
God.
and I'll even play one sometimes, like when I'm working, just to like, I don't know. It makes me feel like focused or something. It's like a little like placebo effect, I think.
Yep. Yep.
What
So
else?
yeah, you just
So sleeping is not going great, but otherwise. Oh, and so I went to Big Snow Tiny Conf. That was like I guess that's like a personal update sort of, because I went, which was essentially, it's like a retreat, I guess, with, I think there were 11 of us total up in Stowe, Vermont, going skiing. And it was awesome. Like, first of all, it was awesome because I got to go skiing. So that was like, I think I put my name on the list on the site a while back probably. And because I was like, this sounds like a cool event that's different from something I've ever done. And also I get to go skiing. So, which I haven't been skiing in like 6 years. So it was good to get back out there. We
no
actually got
snowboarding?
snow. Like, no, I've snowboarded a little bit, but I don't get enough opportunities to go, and I'm not good enough at, like,
so hard.
I'm much better at skiing. So it's like, I don't want to
Yeah.
waste my opportunity.
Snowboarding's hard.
Cause it was only 2 days of skiing. So yeah, that was awesome. That was a cool event. It was basically like, like a retreat, and we had a chef at the Airbnb, which was super nice. And each person just had like about an hour slot to like walk through whatever's going on in their world and get like input and feedback from the group. So it was a really nice, it's like the only thing that I've ever done similar, the only couple things I've ever done similar to that are like in high school, we did like retreats, which are obviously not the same, but similar like vibe, I guess. And then like when we worked at our last company, Rigger, like we would do kind of that stuff, but it was like inside the company. When we were smaller, like we would all go to like the lake or something. But this was kind of a cool, like to do it with a bunch of people from different companies and different scenes. It was nice to get outside input. I mean, it's basically like a mastermind, but retreat thing.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. It was really fun. And it definitely got me like, I mean, you and I had some 2023 planning call before that. So some of that was kind of like fodder for what I ended up talking about. And it was definitely good to like, I wouldn't say there was like anything there that I hadn't thought about necessarily, but it was good to get like, I kind of attributed different weights to those different avenues after hearing outside input, maybe is the right way to say it. Like it helped me kind of recalibrate my thinking a little bit, and also got me a little more energized, I would say. So
we should just like, maybe not like every year, but just be like, hey, 5 to 10 other people, do you want to go to this thing?
Well, that's the other thing
go.
is like, it's like, if you can get a crew together, it's like fairly straightforward because you're not booking, it's like a small group. You're not doing a whole conference. You're just like booking a house or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the other thing I took away was like, it would be, I know we've talked about that in concept. So I think it'd be cool to do something like that with people we know around town, go up to like the mountains or something. So.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. There used to be or I think there still is for like, it's like more of a sales one, except for they go to like I think they go to Hawaii and they go to like they just surf and just like hang out, and it's just all like sales people.
That's quite a trek.
I know.
That's the other thing is like for me and most of the people there I think almost everybody had kids, and maybe 1 or 2 people didn't have kids, and we're like trending in the like 30s, mid 30s to early 40s age range. So like, I think we all had similar like, constraints and stuff for the most part. A lot of them had, it was a mix of like kids' ages. So I think that'll shift as the kids get older, probably. The ability to like go a little farther away would be probably easier. But
yeah. I think
it was awesome.
That would be awesome. I also sometimes just want to do like my own, like sometimes I just want to go by myself somewhere. Like I've talked to, it'd be weird, but I think it would be cool.
No, I don't think it would. I've talked to Claire about doing this. Like, like leave midday and come back midday the next day or something, and just like I have like 24 to 36 hours of just like, you just fall down whatever rabbit hole you like pursue, and you don't have to think.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure how well that would actually go, but
yeah, because you're always doing, like, you're either working or you're doing kid stuff. So you're like, it's kind of like your 2 jobs, and you're doing them all the time until you go to sleep and then wake up and do it again. And
then you're never caught up, but you never will be caught up. So I think that's the game.
Yeah.
But
when I was in Nashville with Tony, first night we're at this bar, saw a bunch of people, out or whatever. Next night we go to this other bar, and the guy sitting next to us, we're like, did we see that guy at the bar last night? And he also was by himself at the same bar right next to us at like a different bar. And we were like, who is this guy? So Tony started talking to him, and he's literally like, he went to Nashville by himself, and he says he does it every single year. And he's like, he has like 3 kids. They're like in like middle school, high school. And he's like, I've been doing this for like over a decade, where my wife just lets me go and I just go by myself. And
I think it's awesome. It's kind of interesting. Like almost, and I think you could like batch up like certain types of work to do on like a self retreat or like an isolation, whatever you want to call it. Isolation sounds kind of like a punishment, but some sort of like
jail.
I don't know. Yeah. Exploration thing, and you can just dive in and go. Cause I mean, I even did that the other night, like just at home, where I just decided to like, I'm going to start working on this after the kids go to bed, and I'm not going to stop until I'm done. Mm-hmm. Which I almost never do now, because it's like, it's so delicate. Like I literally was still working when Sloan got up in the middle of the night, which is not ideal, but was actually less annoying because I was already awake. But there is something to that, I think, periodically, just kind of like, at least for me, just being like, I'm just going to start and go wherever this thing goes, and just finish the thing, and like not have to stop. So
I mean, can you imagine?
Maybe we'll.
Can you imagine like being able to work like without any sort of life distractions in some other city, and then like, and work till whenever 4 or 5, and then just like casually venture out to get a drink? Like this concept is like foreign to me at this point, but it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. One night sounds great. I think I'm happy. I'll do the one night thing. Like let's just
like one night or one full day or something. Yeah.
Yep. Just leave.
Totally.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like leave midday, go to go somewhere within like a 2-3 hour distance, like Greenville or I don't know,
Chattanooga or something.
Chattanooga, something like that. And then just that sounds amazing. I think I'm gonna pitch that. I'm gonna go write up a deck and pitch it to Tony after this. See if
I don't. This is probably getting too far off the. But I'm like, it would almost be a cool like benefit to offer too. I don't know if people would like. It's such a personal thing that maybe people would be like, I don't want that benefit. That's not a benefit.
Yeah. Well, some people don't like being alone. It's like some people hate that, but I like it.
It has benefits and downsides, but I mean, for 1 or 2 days, I think it's like, it'd be great. But especially on the development side, I just feel like there's so much stuff that's like, I got to go in and figure out what the thing is before I can start doing it. And sometimes I'm just like, I can't, like, you just want to do it all at once sometimes. So
we could just say, we can pick some date or some like range of like a couple months and say, next year, we're for sure we're going to do something within these 2 months, and we'll just build some list of other people we would want to go, like entrepreneurs and stuff, and just plan it and do it.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should plan like our own version of something like that, because I think it was pretty valuable. And I think it's like one of those things where I feel like often it's like and I mean, for me, some of it too was like, I haven't been to even a conference since 2019. I was thinking about that because we went to MicroConf, and then it was like the pandemic and all that. So it's like, we haven't even, but even aside from that, it's, I think it's like, sometimes the mastermind thing can feel like too big of a commitment. I think like, it's like, oh shoot, I got to go to this thing like every week or month, which there's value to that obviously, but I think there's something interesting to this, like once a year with the same general group. Cause that's the other thing is most of the group goes every year. So it's like, there were only 2 or 3 new people, me being one of them. So a lot of them have a lot of context year over year, like with what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool that you like meet once a year and then like probably like talk through different channels over the course of the year. But I kind of like that model. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm down to do it. And I always like don't want to do these like groups of people and these masterminds. And then every time I do them, I'm like happy that I did it. And I always like have,
but I also feel like there's like a diminishing return thing where like, you go once and it's like, that was incredible. And then you go twice and you're like, yeah, it's good. Or maybe it's even a little bit better the second time. And then like third time it kind of peaks somewhere in there. And like after a while you're like, it's already time to do that again. Like I just did that. I have nothing else to say. At least this is my experience.
Yeah. Well, that's what,
or like there's like the one person who like monopolizes the conversation. Like you start to sort of like uncover people's weird things and be annoyed by them. And it's like, oh gosh, this thing is like, it's almost like they should have them be like, it's time like capped. Like yes, we'll go monthly, but it's like you go monthly for three months and then you go once every 6 months for a year. And then you go once a year or something, like taper it off.
And you have to keep the group like very curated because like you said, I joined one
That's
once
part of it,
and there was a couple people that I really like enjoyed meeting and like we're now, we'll get drinks and stuff all the time. And that's basically what we do now. Like we don't go to like some meeting, we just go get drinks or whatever. But there was a couple people that were just like, oh my gosh, like stop talking. Like,
and that's what's weird about it is like, it's weird that it's exclusive, but that's what also makes it good. So it's kind of weird, but
clubs.
Yeah. What about you? Anything I know you had some work done on the house or anything?
Yeah, just a lot of work on the house. We got the top floor, like we had a leak and we had to you have to get the entire floor redone when you have a leak in one small place. So we basically had to move out of the top level of our house. But luckily we had our basement done like a couple months ago. So now
in time.
We just basically moved down there for a week. So that's basically it. Yeah, we haven't been doing much outside of that. But yeah, we've had, a lot going on the company front because we're doing some new things. So I don't.
Yeah. So I guess I've spent enough oxygen on my side. So let's jump into it.
Yeah. So I thought we would talk about we've been doing some like 2023 planning. I'd say we sometimes we've been kind of bad about doing sort of these like grouping up and doing these planning sessions, whether it's on an annual basis or something more granular than that, like weekly or monthly. We'll do it for a couple months or do it once. And then we don't keep it up. So we're trying to get that ironed out a little bit and get some sort of consistency there. Especially if we start to do more businesses, we start to build, more products. We need to do that. Because if we don't, then it just gets super disorganized, and just insane. So trying to figure out some better ways to do that. So you've been like working on setting up like periodic meetings that we're having together and with the team and stuff like that. And like what's talked about in those meetings and metrics and, that sort of thing, getting into that sort of thing again. Yeah. Which we stepped away from. Yeah. We
business stuff.
In our last company, before we started our own company, we were like a lot of the companies you probably like see on Twitter or that you've been a part of before, or you see on LinkedIn where there's a million metrics for everything and you track it every single week and you have meetings about it every week and every month and every quarter and every, year and all these different things. And we're trying to just find a happy medium between doing nothing and just being this like very bootstrapped, like we don't do any of those meeting type things. We don't, we just knock it out and whatever happens.
Execute.
Somewhere between that and the craziness of like tracking everything is kind of what we're trying to get
formal
to.
OKRs. Like I don't want to go that far, but it feels like there's a tendency to like, as that stuff gets introduced, people start sort of like treating it as the focal point kind of thing. It becomes like the guiding principles of the business or even for individuals or teams. Like this metric is what we always talk about. Now I'm going to like do whatever it takes to move the metric, but like maybe that's not optimal, like on a broader scale or across teams or whatever. So I think that's my personal version. I mean, that's one sort of fear I have about it, is like never wanting something that I'm using to sort of measure the health of something. Like, let's say conversion rates on like website visitors or something into leads. Like if that's a number we're looking at to understand the health of our business, it doesn't mean that's a number we should like only ever think about how to make that number better, right? I mean, honestly, that number probably should just always be better, but like if you might be like casting aside other things that might be priorities in like service of this random metric you decided. So that's always my fear. And then also like there's overhead of doing some of that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
I remember
That's
that
my
coming a thing where it's like
fear.
spend like 6 hours like putting together all these freaking reports with like all this crap that some of which doesn't really matter. And some people are going to argue about it. And it's like, what are we even talking about? So that's the other part. But I mean, we're nowhere close to that. I think it's good to kind of pull some of that stuff back in. I was looking back at like, we've done like a mixture of different like approaches and stuff. We usually do like a kickoff for the year in some form. And then we kind of like that stuff sort of flows through the different processes in the company. But yeah, the way we like handle ongoing stuff is usually more ad hoc. I think in part because we're just usually pretty asynchronous, which I think is a feature. But I also think there's ways to do a lot of this stuff in an asynchronous way, as long as you just make it like routine. So I think that's what we're trying to do. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll, as we kind of like hash it out, maybe we can share some templates or something. If there's anything worthwhile. Cause I'm always trying to like, you go in, especially we're using Notion for like the content, and there's so many templates and like so many of them look really cool, but you get in and it's this same thing where it's like you end up spending all your time like creating this delicate architecture of tables and pages in Notion. And it's like, what am I even doing? Like, can I just do a bulleted list with some numbers? Like, I don't know. So I'm always trying to balance out like having this super well architected Notion structure versus just being like, just write the number down and move on. Like the value is in like the knowing and the talking, and not the like looking backward forever and ever thing. So.
All right, let's break away to talk about our sponsor this week. Our sponsor is Bonjoro.com, and this is a product that I've been using for probably the last 5 years. It's amazing video product where you can really engage with your customers on a little bit higher level than just constantly sending them, text-based emails. For us, this has worked well with Intercom. So anytime that a new user signs up on Intercom, we have an integration set up with Bonjoro where it will automatically send over a little kind of task within the Bonjoro app. So the new user and all the new users' information, such as their name and email address, will automatically be sent from Intercom to Bonjoro, and it will show up as a task for me to be able to record a video, a personalized video, welcoming that person to ad reform. And so the way that this works is when those get sent over to Bonjoro has a mobile app. And so whenever I get time throughout the day, I often take a walk in between different things that I'm doing, or just any time that I'm sort of like on the move, I'll open up my Bonjoro app. I'll look through to see if there are any new users that it has set as a task. And if there are, I'll record a quick kind of maybe 20 to 30 second video and send it off to that person. And I can go through probably about 5 of those just real quick, on a quick walk. And I'll just get to them whenever I can, right? On these walks and things in between. So it's, while it does require a little bit more effort, they do have the ability to do kind of sort of like automatic videos, but I actually prefer to take a little bit more time and personalize it. I think that, it goes the extra mile and the customer notices. Often I get responses that are like, most of the time they're like, what is this thing? What did you use to do this? This is awesome. We want to do it for our customers. Or I'll get, responses like, this is amazing. Great to meet you. Just to be able to get some sort of, face-to-face message from the founder just really goes a long way and gets the relationship started off the right way. So we love Bonjoro. I have a number of other features around that, and they've also released a new testimonial product, which is really cool. So definitely go check it out. It's bonjoro.com. Give it a try, and I promise you won't regret it. All right, back to the show. So that's like a little bit of like the optimization of like just operations in general, but also just trying to experiment with a bunch of different things to see, mostly experiment with things that we haven't tried before. Some of that is to do with like new products, and some of it are like just different marketing channels and different marketing experiments that we just haven't even tried yet, or haven't really, we just haven't spent like any reasonable time on them. So if you start something and you stay in some particular space for 3 to 5 years, you're going to run into a bunch of like new use cases from potential customers. A lot of which I guess you probably should ignore, but sometimes it might make sense to not ignore it. Some of the underlying technology that we have to do certain things in our platform with ad reform, we basically found out about another use case in a different industry where that underlying technology is useful for them if we sort of tailor it a little bit. So without like tons of effort, we can build like almost like a new product specifically tailored to that space, which I think is a pretty big space. So for us, it's the like we typically sell to ad agencies, and all types of ad agencies, but we, with the pharmaceutical ad agency space, there's a ton of regulation, like FDA regulations around promotion of any sort of promotional assets, like have to go through the ringer from a regulatory standpoint. And, it requires a lot of extra work and like extra tedious work around taking screenshots of things and sending them off to get basically reviewed and annotated and given feedback on, and then back, and then you change those promotional assets, and then you take more screenshots of them, you send them back, go through a review, send them back. Like there's just this constant like legal review process. And we heard this from like one particular, just on some sales meeting basically, and thought we could tailor some of the underlying technology that we had to their use case. And we were able to do that. And to the point where they like were giving us reactions that we hadn't really heard before from people. Like, you get like, oh, this is cool or whatever. And then this reaction was like, holy crap, this like just changed my entire life kind of thing from multiple people at that company. And so you're like, okay, that's a interesting sign. Let's go see if this is like, is this something that we can take to
are you
other
the
companies?
only person who does this on the planet?
Yeah. You can also ask people, like, if you start to hear stuff like that in conversation, you can ask those people like, hey, like, have you worked in similar, whether it's a certain role, if it's built for a certain role or built for a certain industry, it's like, have you worked at other companies where this was like a challenge? And in the pharmaceutical ad agency world, it's such a specialized type of ad agency that like there's just like a massive community of people that just keep working at pharmaceutical ad agencies. And so
they hop around.
Yeah, they hop around, and like the only way that they give jobs to these people is if they have that background, because they have to know all these processes that are totally different from every other agency. And so, yeah, they're like, yeah, we've worked at, 5 other companies over the last, couple decades or whatever. And every single one of them, same exact process, same exact challenges. We'll make intros for you. This is amazing, blah, blah, blah. So we're like, okay. And then we start reaching out to some different people, different companies that are in that space to see if there's interest. And we're getting the same reaction from like basically everyone that, not that many people, but like you talk to a few companies and you get the same reaction. You kind of feel like you're onto something. So you and the rest of the dev team have been working on that, like building that product out, and tailoring it, more and more to that use case. And then we just, we agreed that like, hey, we should probably like really try to go get a bunch of customers in this area, or at least go talk to a bunch of people and see if we're still getting this reaction at scale, from dozens of companies instead of just, like a few. And so over the past couple of weeks, I've been starting to like, dig back into the prospecting, which I've done periodically over the course of the last, 5 years or whatever. But yeah, getting back into the prospecting, finding the right people, finding the right companies, and starting to reach out. We're already getting a lot of meetings. So all signs look pretty good. I had a call today that was also good. And the person, I followed up via email, and we were talking about pricing and different things. And, she asked if she could be a private investor. And I was like,
oh, haven't heard that yet. All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
She was like, and I was like, well,
yeah, just pay us
not
in
right now,
customer
but like,
dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Like the easiest way you could do that is just being a customer. That would be a way to help us. But yeah, again,
that's a good
getting
signal.
These kind of reactions that are just like to the whole conversation about like, what is it, like vitamin versus painkiller, whatever.
Yeah.
I think there's different like levels of that too, because, like at our last company, I don't think anybody ever was like, oh my God, because it was like,
also because there were so many, so much
competition
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was people in the space and stuff. We would get like, oh, this is cool. Like you kind of get that reaction, or like it's the same as I have, but you're cheaper. Great. Like we'll use you guys. But it was never like this, like, holy shit kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And even with ad reform, we've had people like, this is awesome, something like that, which is good. And we don't have that much churn. So that, people like the product, but it's not that same level of like, every time you talk to someone, they're like, this is like going to change. Like this is changing my life, basically. Yeah. I go from like working or doing this like all day to literally it's done in 10 seconds. Like that's kind of, that's the same level of like, that's like chat GPT stuff. That's my way of inserting chat GPT.
Oh, I see. Okay. We're AI powered now.
It's like basically chat GPT level type stuff. Well, so it's not, but it's the same kind of reaction that people are having, which is like, holy crap, like this used to take me a million years and now I can write a blog in 2 seconds or whatever.
Yeah. If chat GPT was built to address the needs of tens of businesses, then it's just the exact same.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think I find this is something we've done multiple. We kind of started like this and we have kind of just always done this type of thing where we're sort of like, we get like an adjacent use case to what we already solve. And we can do like enough of it that whoever comes in is like, oh, what about this? And they open the door to this thing. And I find it to be an interesting process to go through because it's like this balancing act for us to try to like, we can build stuff toward it, but we also need to get input from enough people in like, are there enough prospects in this space to justify spending time on it? Or is there so little time to spend on it that it just doesn't matter? Like, oh, it takes us half a day to do the thing. And then like we get 1 customer, 2 customers, 3 customers. All right, fine. It's worth it.
Yeah.
And then like, what is the long-term, like the thing we think about on the technical side is like, what is the cost of having the extra stuff? There's like a maintenance burden. It's usually minimal, but not always. Right. So it's like, I find that whole evaluation to be really interesting to go through when you have a current business with current customers, and then you're trying to sort of like expand and reuse stuff. And it's a new pocket of the world you don't know. So like we're in like a fun part of that where you're like helping us figure out like, is each person who comes in this channel going to be like, yeah, this is great, except I need this customization done. And it's going to be like, oh shoot, suddenly we're going to have all this like customization, or are we we just need like 3 or 4 reps and then we have like 99% of the use cases covered. So it's like a fun combination of like the sales and product and engineering side to try to figure it out. So we'll stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have, we'll just get a bunch of customers and that'll be cool.
Yeah. That's what I like to do is like you sort of like find these lanes, every once in a while you find one of these lanes and you're like, what is that? And I don't know, like it might not work out, but if it does work out, it could be, it could be a huge level forward for us. And
if it
potentially
doesn't,
there could be other things that come down the line,
branch off
in that
of
space.
it.
Yeah.
Because if you think of it like a tree, and it's like you're going from here to here, like there's other branches down here, maybe not, I don't know. And I think that's why it's useful too as like an exploration, because like now if we get to the end of this and we're like, maybe that was, there wasn't much to that in the end. It's like we may have a few more customers and we just like know way more about this thing that maybe we never use again, but like we don't need to think. If someone comes in asking about it, we now have an answer for them. So
our core product with ad reform is a requirement. We do this thing for people that they have to do because it's a requirement. If they don't do it or they don't do it well, it's not going to be the difference. Like, it's not costing them like millions of dollars or anything like that. This, on the other hand, is like,
it's not a legal requirement. I think that's the difference.
They have to do it because, there's two kind of big things here. One is that they have to do it because it is a legal requirement to go through, to make sure that everything is perfect on these ads, because it can literally be, they would get, the pharmaceutical company would get penalized. Yeah. Well, life or death, but then also that would mean like
lawsuits and all sorts
tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits. So there's like quite a bit of money to making sure this gets right. And because of that, the whole process is so like insane and time consuming and stringent that it really holds back, like, for them getting promotional assets out, because this isn't just like advertising. It could be a lot of different things. But for them to get these marketing programs out the door, it takes so long. And so speeding that process up and like getting to market quicker with, whatever their new drugs are, like, I don't know, whatever the thing is like pretty significant. So like, and then same for the agency, like they want to get it out the door too, because that's how they get paid. So it's like everybody is incentivized to make sure this moves faster and also gets done, really well, and done the right way. So I think
especially in a field where it's like, when you think about it through that lens, it's like there's enough hard like science challenges and governmental approval things that you can't really speed up necessarily, or you can try, but so for things like this, where it's like this is just like an operational process we have to do. Like this, if we could make this take 5 seconds, like it's like give some inputs, get some outputs. Like there's so many things in the process that are so slow and so hard to control the length of, that it's like we should make everything else as fast as we can. So it actually, it's like an easy kind of like optimization area, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch
Hopefully,
and
I guess
I'm
we'll
learning
find
all
out.
about, there's like all these big players in this space too, that are like the Salesforces of the world, that are massive public companies that like no one's ever heard of. Yeah, exactly. I mean, unless you're in healthcare or like pharma, but that's interesting to me because it's like very unsexy. Like no one's, everyone's often chat GBT land, and you're like finding out about this like major problem in this like super stodgy world of pharmaceutical technology or whatever.
And
So
we've said this before, but I think that's part of it too, is that people, they become so, I don't even know how to frame. I haven't found a good way to like frame this, but we've talked about this before about people they get so sucked into the things they have to do that they don't stop. They don't stop, or they don't have an opportunity to stop and like consider if there's a better way. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a lot of them do at some point, because then they'll like find our website, right, and eventually find us. But a lot of them, it's like they see this and they're like, "Whoa, this isn't." It's like it hasn't even occurred to them that you could just make this go away. Some of this, right? Which is great for us.
They have people telling them like, I mean, today they were saying like, we'll talk to like people on like the dev team or just different people and be like, oh yeah, there's tools for that. Like you can just use like Snagit or whatever. And it's like, no, that doesn't do that. Like, it's, I don't know. You hear like a keyword or something and you're just like, oh yeah, there's screenshot tools out there, but that's not, it has to be like tailored to that very specific use case. So that's why I like it, that it kind of gives you a little bit of a moat in a way, because it's like, you're doing something, you're tailoring to this very specific use case that, and
Like
I think this
only
goes,
people who are trying to complete that exact task, like
Yeah,
only
well,
competitors who
this is-
decided that exactly that thing would even be there.
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole like vertical software. Like this is the whole play is that, you can be Salesforce and be this thing for like, try to be this thing for everybody or whatever. But like, you could also like tailor it down to just like pharmaceutical companies and have a multi-billion dollar, like whatever this company Viva is basically Salesforce, but for pharmaceutical companies, and they're worth like $20 billion. And it's like,
Also whatever
it's
the
like,
features are, the differentiated features for that vertical, they're like willing to pay whatever, because it's just like, this just makes life 100 times easier. So
yeah, totally.
So we'll be a public company, just like Viva.
Almost there. Yeah, almost there. But yeah, so working on that, we have some good progress there. We'll give an update on that in future episodes. Hopefully we'll, have like 10 customers soon, and we're just rolling, raking it in. But the other thing that I've been working on the podcast front, I don't know if anyone's seen this stuff or not, but I have started doing like TikTok for our podcast.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
You haven't seen it, Kyle? You haven't seen it?
Oh, I'm just talking about TikTok in general. No, I'm just
Yeah.
okay. I've heard of this TikTok thing.
and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. We've been creating clips, and it started out with just me. Like I created like 5. Like this was like months ago, just to see how it worked and all that kind of stuff. And then we got somebody on our team from the Philippines to basically take this task over. So every single time that when this podcast is done, we have like a process and template and everything in Notion, and I just send him the YouTube link once it's complete, and he goes through and he finds like basically for every episode he finds 5 interesting clips, usually like, I don't know, 30 seconds long or something like that. And then he started out just doing like just the clip itself, and then I was like, hey, can you like look at this other stuff that I literally have no idea how to do, but like, somebody's doing this stuff cool. So I sent him like a couple different podcasts, like My First Million and some of these different ones, who are doing clipping with like probably more people that do this for a living basically. And they add, they'll add in like these images, and like it's just more interactive looking. It's like more entertaining video. And so I was like, hey, you should look at these. Like, I don't know if you can pull this stuff off, but give it a go. And yeah, he's been like adding all this stuff to it, and I think they look awesome. And so yeah, we've got a good process down now for basically just like churning out 5 clips per episode. We probably could do more, and I think we can go back through our backlog and start to pull some, those would just be audio clips, but start to pull some of that stuff too and start to put that out. But we're getting, on some of these videos, we're getting like either close to or like 1,000 views or listens or whatever, which I think is, I think it's
Seems like
it's
a
not
lot.
like that great,
Yeah.
but yeah, it seems like a lot for like not putting anything out. No one knows who we are, and it's just like on TikTok, and they're watching this stuff, and we're getting like likes too. We're getting, which this sounds so stupid, but we're getting like 200 likes on a video, and I know people have been talking about this forever, and like TikTok's crazy and has this crazy algorithm, and you get so much engagement, but whether it's
weird to
bots
see
or
it in
not,
action.
yeah, it's crazy to see. It's just like, what? Why do people like this? Like, what? Why do people listen to me talk? Yeah,
It'll be cool to see like what, as we do this more routinely. First, we have to do the podcast more routinely, but assuming we do that, then we like kind of see if it, it'll be interesting to see if it actually translates into like subscribers. So it'll be fun. It's another this one's a more just like for the heck of it experiment, but because we basically do nothing to promote. Like we send out the occasional tweet, and that's pretty much it. So
yeah, Tony, my wife Tony, she gets on a decent amount of podcasts. Like people just have her on, and she's been doing that for, I don't know, like probably like the last like 5 years or something. She's been getting on a number like sales podcasts and stuff. And I was like, because she has like no social media brand like at all. And I just think like in this current economic climate, you probably should like bump up your brand a little bit. Maybe like, you know, just make sure you're out there. Right.
Yeah.
I think everybody should be doing that. But I was like, you should, if you want, like we should just, you know, pay the person on our team or you would pay them, and you can give him like YouTube videos and he'll just go clip that stuff up for you. And you could start to put this stuff out on like TikTok and different places, and just, it probably will get like it'll get like millions times more views than our stuff. So I might start, or she may start doing that. And we'll see how quickly she surpasses our engagement.
Well, speaking of niching down, we've pretty much, when you niche down to like bootstrap business founder podcasts, the TAM is not so big, I guess. But
I think the TAM is getting bigger though, and I think it'll be. I would bet that
it's bigger. We still have room to grow inside the market.
It's way bigger than it was when we started, or 5 years before that. It was like non-existent. I think it's a lot bigger now, and I think it's going to continue to be bigger, as things become less expensive and people like figure out that like what were we talking about earlier? Like people have like these one person, like Notion template course, whatever businesses like that are making like $1 million in like the first year. It's like, what?
I do see more and more too, like companies starting podcasts, like for their like new business, just having a podcast. I think it's more and more common. So we'll see.
Smart.
Yeah. I guess I also have some like visions of some guests and stuff we're going to bring on this year, hopefully. So we'll try to, I think I say this every time we record, but we'll try to be better.
See. For sure. I have a couple people that I should get on, because I know it would raise our podcast status quite a bit, but I hate asking people. Like there are some people I don't mind asking. Then there are other people that would probably raise the status of our podcast quite a bit that I hate asking, because I'm like, how many people ask this person to be on their podcast? I don't want to be like, I'm their friend. I don't want to like be the guy that is also asking for them to be on my podcast. Well,
the reassurance is like, hey, only like a few people will even know about this.
Yeah.
Just come on. It's just me and you having a conversation. No one's actually going to know.
I have thought of like, we're not going to talk about like anything that this actual podcast has to do with. We're not going to talk about work. We're not going to talk about business. Let's talk about like how you're having a kid, or like how, that's going. That's all we'll talk. That's like the only way I feel like we could get some of these.
But I also think that is like in the lane of this. Like, I don't know. Maybe not as often as
we even niche down even more, where we don't even talk about like bootstrapping.
The first rule about bootstrap business podcasts is we don't talk about. Yeah, I think people like that.
Yeah, it's part
of life. It's part of why we bootstrap. Or not bootstrap specifically, but it's part of why a lot of people choose to like do their own thing and do it a little differently and all that, like the calm company kind of thing. Like, I think it's part of it, a big part of it.
Dude, almost every person that I know that raised money, significant money, almost every single person is like that I talk to now, whether they're out of that thing or they're still in the thing, are like, dude, I hate this. Like I so badly want to, like, whatever I do next, I'm not taking money.
Yeah.
So I guess
it kind of makes sense intuitively if you think like people start their own thing to have like control and optionality, and then like you raise a bunch of money with a VC track, and it's like you take away a huge portion of like that optionality.
Yeah.
So even though it may end up being great, like it just feels like you lost something that you went looking for a little bit. So
yeah.
Not that I would know.
Last thing, I got to throw this tip of the week out because I feel like a moron. I just threw it in. It's on our bulleted list here. We were talking earlier this week. Suddenly I saw some news or whatever about, I don't know which company it was, but they were like advertising their high yield savings account rate, and maybe it was Robinhood. I can't remember what it was, and it was like it was like over 4%. And I was like, wait, what? What is this?
Is this a typo?
Is this really a high yield?
Is this crypto?
Savings account?
What is this?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? Wait, this is not real. This can't be real. But apparently this has been, and for those of you that already you're like, yeah, duh, you can just get off the podcast now. But for the big section of people that are probably like me and they're working and doing different things and you're not always paying attention about what the heck is going on with, savings account rates. I was unaware of this. And like many people, I have in America, it's like you have Chase Bank, you have Bank of America or Wells Fargo or one of these big banks. I had Chase. I still do. But the savings account rate, I checked, mine was it was 0.2. And that was actually fairly high for it used to be something less. And I guess at some level they were like, oh, we're going to bump you up. And they bumped us up. And
Look at you.
I get these nice little $2 interest rate things that come in. And I'm like, sweet. So it's 0.2%. But then I'm seeing this thing where Robinhood's at 4.1% or something like that. I'm like, what? That's half of the average return of the S&P 500. It's 7% or whatever. And I'm like, how's that? That's not real. So then I started looking it up, and apparently a number of these sort of internet, I don't know if they're not banks. They're internet. I guess most of them are robo advisors. So you have Robinhood, Wealthfront, Betterment, and there's a bunch of other ones as well. And even some of the bigger companies like Amex and PNC, I saw recently they had over 3%, which is also amazing. But yeah, there's other, dozens of these companies that are giving you zero risk, 3 to 4% interest rates for doing nothing. And I'm just what about and this has been happening probably for the past year. Before that, it was much lower, but for the past year, it's been pretty high. And even if it was 2%, that's still obviously so much higher. And so anyways, I immediately moved 80% of my money to one of these savings accounts. It was super. I used Wealthfront. It was super easy. I mean, it took me less than 5 minutes to set up an account, which also was what? Why am I ever using any of these other
welcome
things?
Welcome to the 21st century of banking.
So I moved over a lot of money there. They also, the interesting thing too is that they have, so most of these bigger banks they're FDIC insured for I think up
more
to 200. Yeah, 200, 250, 250K. Most of these robo-advisor, internet banks, whatever you want to call them, they're up to 2 million because something about how they
split it out.
They split it out across multiple banks and they get to take advantage of all of that combined or something. And they even utilize some of these other banks that they work with as partners. They utilize their branch infrastructure. So even though they're internet based and you normally wouldn't be able to have a branch, they will actually use these partners, and you still have 1,000 branches that you could go to if you needed to pull out money, physically pull it out. But you could also have your old Chase account and just leave a little bit of money in there and pull stuff out if you need to for a haircut where they don't take cards,
for example.
Which is what I do. my only example of when I take cash out. But anyways, I just thought that again, there's probably some people that are thinking I'm an idiot, and I also thought that I was a moron for not knowing this. But
yeah, you slacked me and you were like, wait a second. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I go, wait a second. Am I crazy or is this real? I mean, it is pretty crazy. I guess it sounds like it has to do with the Fed interest rates going up, and then also apparently after the 2008 collapse, all the banks basically took their interest rates down to zero, and the savings account interest rates, and then they just never went up, and nobody left them as like people didn't leave as customers, so they just never brought it up. Like the bigger companies just never brought it up, and then you've had all these sort of like upstarts, like another one was SoFi, Betterment, Wealthfront.
A lot of them were using it as like a bootstrapping technique of like, we're a new bank. How do we get customers? Oh, just give them a bunch of. I mean, it was like
they were always
sort of
higher.
healthier version of the crypto attempt, where it's like 8% returns if you put your Bitcoin in here.
Yeah,
but actually real money.
Yeah, and it sounds like they were always higher, but it wasn't like significant enough for where it would make sense for you to actually like, okay, I'm gonna like move my money over literally immediately. Yeah. As you start to get into upper twos, it's like, okay, this is a no-brainer. And then of course, now that it's in the fours, like there's no reason why you should have your money sitting there making no money in Chase or something.
We should do like an off-topic episode where I just talk about how much random time I've spent in this lane the past like 2 years. I've spent not as much. I'm sure there's people out there who spend way more energy in this, but given my limited free time, I've spent a lot of it trying to like engineer our personal finances in a different way, like literally like automating most of it, hopefully. So I think I was more just lucky that I was already doing a lot of that, that I was just already exposed. But I would say like,
thanks for the tip, bro.
Yeah, sorry. But I'm like so in it that I'm like, no one cares about this. This is like so
that's
specific.
the thing is like people don't typically talk about money that much. As soon as I found out about it, I like put it on every social media channel. I was like, what? And it wasn't about like getting like, you know, people being like, oh,
street
cool,
cred
you're
or
cool.
something.
It was like literally like, dude, you need to do this. I told my parents, I told like everyone I knew, and a lot of people that a bunch of people are like, what? They like nobody knew about it.
That's why I think my tip is like, obviously the smarmy tip here is like, stay in touch with what's going on in every pocket of the world and like whatever, keep a finger on the pulse or whatever. But like I would say the easy way out for this is because I have USAA, like a they're still not fully like Bank of America. They're better than like those other ones, but more basic banking sort of thing. It's like, if you have that, I would suggest getting one of these like neobank type things, even if you don't put a bunch of money into it, and just have, because it's a cool experience, like you said, like to feel what banking would be like if it were invented today. It's like, oh, this is so much better. Like everything is easy. And then also, you can like get yourself like access to certain things that the old banks just don't. Like you think about all the other stuff they have going on, and a lot of them have all these like massive private wealth management things and all these like mortgage lending arms. And it's like, someone who starts a neobank, they can focus on like the core consumer banking experience. So it's pretty cool to try. So I would suggest at least, like if you had just had one of those accounts in your hands, you would have seen it like come through like an email or something, you know? So I would suggest just signing up and like,
this is like the year of us being like, we also got like Mercury, and now I'm just like, what have we been doing? Like, what have we been doing the past like 5 years?
That's another saga, but save that for another boring podcast.
I was looking, the one thing that I have to look into is you can take out lines of credit on like your portfolio of investments. Like that's just like a thing people do. And like during the heyday, which was like a couple of years ago, like basically you could take it out at 0% interest. So I'm interested to know like what that's at now. Because if it's less than 4.05%, then I'm just about to go take not a bunch, but like, I mean, you might as well take some out and then just go put it in there. Like it doesn't you're literally just going to make profit on it. And it's like a no risk, and it's no risk. So it's like, it doesn't I don't know. It just seems,
I think those things are just crazy.
Related.
I mean, those numbers are typically related, like their movements. Cause it's like, the cost of the banks to borrow money.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Fed interest rate went up, so then that interest rate's going to go up. But I just wonder, like, what is it? Because it was like 0 before. So like, I don't know.
Well, especially if you're looking at different financial institutions, like you said, like maybe there's like arbitrage between like some random bank and some other old bank.
And it matters how much you have like in the portfolio. Like I just don't know. So I'm just going to ask and find out, and if it makes sense, then it's like an easy That's basically like arbitrage. It's just like, what am I
should, yeah.
Just gonna
I should
take it
tell
out and put it in there. Like, but yeah, you should tell your family. I mean, everybody should tell their family. This is important. I mean, I don't know. It's just like it's a no brainer. Like if you're just making, I mean, it's like if you put 100,000, I mean, it's a lot of money, but like if you put $100,000 in, that's the difference between $4,000 and $0. So boom.
Yeah. Free money.
Boom. Yeah. You would go on a vacation or something. Like it's like easy money.
Yep. This has been your personal finance tip of the week.
My first personal finance tip of our podcast after 3 years. There you go.
Yeah. Well, no, I think you've done some crypto. We've talked about some random stuff.
Yeah, some good. Yeah, definitely
We don't have to go back.
and listen to those. Those are.
We'll do some clipping for the old episodes too. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
sweet. All righty.
Until next time.
All right. See ya.
See ya.